Chest and biceps, guys. This is one of my more or less favorite days because of a different reason than most, and that is because we will be supersetting everything today. So as you guys just saw, we are going to be doing a chest press right into a alternating bicep curl, and these will be, like I said, supersetted. So these will be back-to-back movements without any rest, guys. One thing to note is, yes, I'm starting off with a plate and a quarter. It's just funny because back in the day, guys, I may have told you this in the other video that I have on chest, guys, is that yeah, I used to start back when I first started lifting with a bar, and that was plenty weight, as I was very, very small back in the day when I first started lifting. So starting off with a plate and a quarter, not necessarily saying that's a massive amount of strength, but again, it's just a weight that I've become accustomed to really control. As you can see, I'm already starting off with pause reps, so I'm really pausing at the bottom of the rep to, again, adding a little bit more difficulty, considering this is a light weight for me. Then I go into a regular tempo towards the end there because I was fatiguing a little bit, but right into a negative, right into another pause rep. Again, guys, add these little techniques to just, again, emphasize the difficulty to any workout, or just to add a little bit, a little bit more variation to your guys' training. Like I said, guys, so right in from a bench press right into now alternating dumbbell curls. So when you guys are performing these, again, choose a weight that allows you guys to, not rush through your guys' tempo, but have a tempo that allows you to control the weight. Again, as you can see, getting a feel for it. But then pretty soon, guys, I'm actually going to get into a few pause/negative reps into the back end of this set, just to, again, because it's a weight that I can certainly control. But again, yeah, right there, see, I'm kind of getting into the peak and slowing with the negative right there. So getting to the peak and slowly with negative. So I choose a weight, guys, that I can control, that I'm not ultimately swinging the entire time. Too many guys come in the gym and they're picking a weight that really is just too heavy for them, and they're not really working their biceps. So again, guys, when you're supersetting like this, on top of it, choosing a weight that's kind of more in the moderate range to allow you to get more out of each rep, guys. So as we get into this next set, guys, you can see I'm going to put on another plate. Again, it's a rep range that I'm not so much worried about, rather than worried about picking weights that I know I can control. And if it is too light or too heavy, I'm going to adjust my tempo accordingly. So again, guys, nice controlled negative. I've seen people just fly down from the top to the bottom. So like about a 2-second negative with a nice pause, and then right into, once again, full regular tempo. But again, see, nice negative, pause, press it up, guys. So again, pick weights that you guys control, utilizing just your chest, and not picking weights that are allowing you guys to really get too much momentum when performing a bench press like this, guys. You guys see me struggling right there, by the way, to re-rack the weight. Well, that's because when I set up this bench, I definitely should have reworked it, because it was a little bit higher than I'm used to. And there's my man Jordan in the background doing this thing. This guy's one of the best film guys in the industry, guys. He's out here in AZ. But anyways, so now getting into the next set, guys, I didn't add too many variations, at least at the beginning here. I kind of went with the normal tempo that you're used to seeing everybody do in the gym. Nothing wrong with that. Again, I'm doing supersets the entire time. So to be doing, let's say, a pause rep or a negative or partials, all that kind of stuff, would make this workout that much harder. But yeah, this particular set, I did go with the majority normal tempo here, just back and forth, not too many negatives or pauses. But I do get into it right here at the end, again, just to add the difficulty, because, yep, see, so here's those negatives towards the end of the workout. Pause with a slight negative, and one thing I'm also adding in is the slightly bent wrist the entire set as well, guys. So again, just remember, guys, just constantly be adding in variations during your guys' training to continue to mix it up. Now we're gonna throw on another quarter. Something that I can still manage to control pretty well at this point, guys. You know, you guys don't need to be worrying about lifting more or less than me. The goal is lift what you guys can control to, you know, challenge you guys in your guys' workout. Again, adding in those pause reps, continuing with that theme for my bench today, guys. Does not mean that you have to pause rep or negative for each particular rep or each particular set, guys. This is just what I'm doing to mix it up, add a little bit of difficulty. Once again, you guys probably saw that it was a struggle to rack the weight. I should have said take the ego out, take the rack all the way off, and rework the height on it. But I was a little too stubborn, and I made it work each individual time. But it is what it is. Now, as you guys can see, I started this particular set with the pause rep and getting in a little bit of slow negatives off the bat. So from rep 1 on both sides. And then once I start fatiguing towards the back end of this particular set, I'll go right into that normal tempo, guys. Now we're gonna move into some big boy weight. I mean, for some guys, yeah, maybe they're lifting 4 to 5 plates, but for me, again, guys, this is something that I can control on a daily basis for the majority without a spot. No particular pause reps. Oh, I take that back, but not throughout the entire set anyways, guys, because again, this is a pretty substantial weight from what I'm, you know, used to doing. So when I'm doing something like this, I'm not gonna add too many variations. But yeah, I was able to control it. The weight felt good to me for the first 4 reps, and then I decided to add in those pause reps at the end because I knew today was a good day to be able to do it. Where some days I may not have that strength, so you're not going to see any variations. You're just probably going to see a normal tempo all the way through on a heavier set like that. Again, guys, like I told you, the theme is superset all day. So right after the bench, again, right into our alternating curls. And yes, once again, throwing those damn negatives, add the difficulty. Just because it's a lighter weight doesn't mean you can't make it just as difficult if it were a 45, 50, 60 pound dumbbell. As you guys can see, I'm already going to be rolling over the bench because now we're going to be getting into another superset. But this particular time, guys, we're going to be doing a Smith machine incline press right into preacher curls. So one thing to note when you guys are using the Smith machine, you know, they're all designed a little differently. So you kind of, as you can see, I'm moving my, you know, bench to kind of see that the bar is coming down at the right angle in place that I wanted to hit for this incline press before I start placing on the weight. This particular set, I just did 3 plates on the, you know, free weight, you know, barbell. So this one is going to be a little bit lighter, clearly. With that being said, nice controlled reps, good tempo. Again, definitely adding some negatives in this first set because again, just want to get used to this this next machine before I put on some nice heavy weight. One thing that you will constantly see me be doing is adding a variation. So in a second here, I'm going to be adding in some partials. So I'll be doing in the negative, like you guys see right here. So not the negative, sorry, but the lower half of the rep. And then I'll get right into the upper half of the rep range. And then I will get into, see now I'm on the upper half. And then I will get right into the full range of motion to incorporate, you know, 3 different variations just to make this particular set that much harder, considering the weight for this particular set is a whole lot lighter than I not necessarily should go, but that I easily could have gone a whole lot heavier. So in order to make it challenging, I added in partials towards the end to challenge the the actual set itself. One thing I will let you guys know, when you guys are doing preacher curls, not that what I'm doing is incorrect, but my shoulder mobility, I need to be getting a little bit more work done to loosen them up a little bit. So when I get into this particular movement, it would be nice if I can get my elbows a little bit tighter, meaning closer together rather than further apart. But for me, I've been able to train them this way for a very, very long time, and I can still feel the movement in my biceps and so forth, yes, but typically speaking, not that it's right or wrong, most people are going to be training this movement with their elbows a little bit tighter, but again, it depends on your shoulder mobility, on how much movement you're going to be able to create, or how closer together you're able to put your elbows together. But for me, guys, it's very, very difficult. So again, notice that when you guys are doing these, you guys are choosing a weight that you guys can control, just like you saw me doing, but as well that allows you over time to kind of continue to get those elbows a little bit tighter. But again, it is really whatever feels best for you guys, and for me, with my shoulder mobility, that is what feels best for me. Now that we are into set 2, guys, I throw in another plate. Again, another weight that I can control. As you can see, I'm getting a nice little negative out of each particular rep. And one thing, that was definitely a nice little pause rep. One thing you guys will also notice at the top of the rep, I'm not actually locking out. So I'm keeping the elbows slightly bent. So again, the tension is still always on the chest the entire way through, guys. Now again, adding a few partials right there at the back end of the set, and finish her up. So again, guys, like I said with the preachers, when you guys can, try to emphasize the elbows being tucked, but when you guys are doing this, make sure you guys are contracting like I am at the top. So don't just come up and go right back down to the starting point. So come up, get a nice squeeze like I am, and then slowly as you can, lower the weight. As you get towards the bottom, you're gonna have less strength typically. So you'll notice at the top, there's a little bit more control in the negative. And as I get towards the bottom is when it kind of speeds up a little bit. But that's pretty common all across the board when it comes to a preacher curl, guys. So again, lock out at the top and kind of really squeeze the top of the bicep. And as you're coming down, try to control as much as you guys can. We're gonna get right into a 3-plate incline Smith machine bench now, guys. And with this particular one, yes, there's not as many variations as you guys seen me do before, because this one's a little bit heavier, and it's my second essentially benching movement, guys. Now that I've challenged myself with the weight, you don't have to necessarily add in as many variations. So that's one thing you guys should always take note of. Lesser of a weight, something that you can get a lot of reps in, add in a lot more variations at times, not all the time, but at times, to increase that difficulty. Just because it's lighter doesn't mean it can't be as difficult as the heavier weight. And again, guys, with this particular movement, every time you guys go to the top of the rep, try to lock it out and really squeeze that bicep, really contract as much as you can. And as you can tell, again, slow negatives. I'm always just trying to, again, connect with my muscle and make that mind-muscle connection every single rep if I can, guys. So those little, tricks to, again, at the top, contract before you start releasing. Moving right along, guys, now we're gonna get into an incline bench chest cable flies supersetted with an iso cable curl. So when you guys are utilizing, these type of cable machines, you're usually gonna have to roll over a bench, clearly, because there's not gonna be a bench already there. So roll over your bench, put it to the right incline that you guys are looking for. And when you guys are doing these, make sure, again, you keep those elbows slightly bent. You can see that my arms are not locked out. They're not perfectly straight the entire time. If anything, like I said, I kind of keep that same bent angle the entire movement so that the chest is the one pulling the arms through, guys. So like I said, you guys will finish your incline bench right into an isolated single arm cable curl, just like I am doing. Once again, you will do your best to kind of peak the bicep and lock it out before returning the weight back to the beginning starting point. Again, guys, this one, you don't necessarily need too much weight when you guys are isolating to ensure that the biceps being used, there's not that much swinging going on when you guys are performing these, because again, a lot of people, they use too much weight and then the movement is not necessarily lost, but again, the bicep is not being worked as much as it should be, rather than you have a lot of your secondary muscles coming in because people use too much weight. Getting into our next set, guys, I did up the weight just a tiny bit this time, but again, if you are losing, let's say that slightly bent elbow and your arms are becoming more and more straight, I would say the weight is probably too heavy for you. So again, keep a weight that allows you to keep those elbows bent, really get the opportunity to really peak the movement and get a nice squeeze at the top, just like I did, and then do a nice negative. So doesn't mean that you have to be able to control the negative, but if you're able to do that, it means it's a weight that you clearly are able to control and utilize the chest the entire time throughout the entire movement, guys. Getting into set 2, which means now the bicep curl is going to be the same weight as the incline, so it's a little bit heavier this time. So I'm not getting as much of a negative or control or peak at the top. So again, doesn't mean that it's wrong. Ideally, guys, you pick a weight that you can control throughout the entire rep and set of the movement. I'm not sure what it is, guys, but I've always known that my left bicep is weaker than my right, to be completely honest. As you can see, I have a little bit more control and the ability to slow the movement down. Same weight, different arm, different bicep. So it's funny how that works. And I know that my bicep and my triceps, it's kind of opposite when it comes to the strength. So again, guys, regardless of the fact, pick a weight that you guys can control and utilize the negatives and our pause reps and our top contractions at the peak of each movement. Again, keeping those elbows slightly bent, maximizing each rep. There we go with those pause and negative right there at the peak. Pause and slightly negative there, but yes, again, guys, if you guys are able to throw those in towards the end of your sets, it's just going to make the set that much more difficult. Struggling right there to finish that last rep, guys, but again, that's just, a sign of a good set. Able to get a little bit more contraction here, guys, or a little bit more negative and contraction at the top versus the last set. I think I was just a little bit gassed, but yeah, as you can see, the weight didn't change, but I'm able to get a lot more out of it, and the bicep is really peaking now though. One thing you guys will notice probably in each particular set, before I start the actual reps, I'm kind of tweaking my elbow, just like on the preacher curl, I was unable to do so. But on this movement, because I'm not locked into the bench, I'm able to kind of twist my elbows in a little bit to allow the bicep to be in its kind of like true natural form to do the typical curl movement. So that's one thing you guys may have taken away from that particular set just now. Now this next superset that we're gonna get into, guys, we're gonna be doing a standing cable fly with an underhand grip, and then we'll work ourselves right into a alternating hammer curl. So this one, guys, again, using the cable machine, as you can see, I kind of stepped a little further out, so that way when the weight is returning back to the starting point, it's continuing to stretch the chest all the way through the rest, all the way through the top of the movement. And it's funny because most people would believe or to think that this movement is clearly for the lower chest only, but really, if you continue the movement as high as you can upward, you can see that the upper chest as well as firing just as much as the lower part of your chest is. And one thing is to always make sure to keep those elbows slightly bent. Otherwise, you'll be getting into doing a lot more curling than you will be, utilizing your guys' chest. So now we're going to get into, like I said, right from the standing cable fly right into a hammer curl movement. With these guys, a lot of guys, I feel, let's just say, go too heavy. This particular bicep movement, clearly, you're able to usually do more weight than you would your standard curl movement. So that's why a lot of guys are gonna lift a little too heavy, I feel. But again, doesn't mean don't train heavy, guys, but it just means train within what you can while still getting quality reps. Into this next movement, guys, like I said, this does clearly hit upper chest. As you guys can see, my right pec in particular, from this angle, you can see the muscle fibers getting worked at the top of the chest. So if someone's trying to tell you this doesn't do a little bit of upper chest, well, you can tell them they're bullshitters, because clearly this does clearly hit upper and lower pecs throughout the entire movement, guys. Oh yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, after that first set, guys, I wanted to change lighting a little bit, so I moved my hammer curl spot. But no, for real, as you guys can see, there's not much swing in my movement. The dumbbells are, at a nice controlled rate. The biceps doing majority of the work here, guys. A lot of guys, when they do this, their back and legs are getting into the picture, and that's just not what you want when you're trying to just work essentially the biceps, guys. So again, guys, walk it out from the machine. And actually, you know what? I'm actually gonna get into a variation here, guys. So you see more or less now, this is more of a pressing movement, but still utilizing the underhand grip, and you can see the upper chest is still firing here, guys. So again, with this particular one, it's just a way to add a variation. So I'm doing more of a press to, again, just continue to mix it up, guys. And then I'll go right into the original variation you guys saw earlier, which is more of the fly motion versus the press. And then I finish off with what? Yes, more pressing once again. So again, guys, there's no right or wrong way to do this, but this is another technique for you guys to add in this movement. And then I finish it off with a couple more fly motion once again. As you guys can see, we're just kind of full everywhere right now. That's why chest and biceps is one of my favorites to kind of superset. They are certainly mirror muscles, as you know, but again, just a killer pump. So again, guys, the next set with the hammer curls, again, alternating, continue to take less or more swing into the picture, and again, take a weight that you guys can control to maximize each rep. If you do decide to go heavier and you guys are getting too much swing, maybe think about doing as many as you can with the heavier weight, but then going into a drop set to continue to further get the burn, guys. Now, guys, we're gonna get into a dumbbell incline press, supersetted with that same incline bench, but doing preacher curls. So when you guys are doing these, once again, choose a weight that you're able to control. get nice, full range of motion the entire time. Unless, of course, you are working on partial reps or negatives, all those kind of things. But again, full range of motion all the way from the bottom all the way to the top. And yes, as you can see, working in some negatives towards the end, just to, again, change it up, guys. So you'll see me here in a quick second. I'm going to drop it. Oh, sorry, I increased it one to get a little bit better, preacher curl angle for me. Because again, I have to still kneel just a little bit to get into it. But again, another variation of a preacher curl, guys. Rather this one versus being a W bar. Now we're using the dumbbell on top of that, but we're also going to be isolating each arm as its own thing rather than having them both firing at the same time. With my shoulder mobility, always hard for me to do curls like this, but with the isolated version, guys, it allows me to get the bicep in a much better angle than it would the preacher curl on the preacher curl bench, because this one allows me to kind of manipulate my body to get the bicep and shoulder straight on. So it's just a lot better movement for me versus the typical preacher curl, guys. Now, when you guys get into set 2 here, one thing I recommend is for you guys to probably lift those weights the traditional way to each arm, but you saw me use a little bit of my momentum to do them both at the same time. That's more advanced movement, so be careful when you guys are doing something like that. But again, picking a weight that I can control, adding in some negatives towards the back end of this movement, guys. Full range of motion the entire time. That's what we are going for, guys. Raise the bench up one. Based off your guys' height, for me, it works just better for me to not have to crouch down. See, I'm having to crouch down to get into the position, so again, it just helps me get into the position a whole lot easier by upping it one. Again, guys, nice contraction all the way to the peak, and then try to do your best to control the negative. The negatives on these are always harder than it would be on the traditional one, because you have one arm at a time, but you can typically contract a whole lot easier as well at the peak. So try to utilize that as much as you can each individual rep, guys. And then you're gonna go right into the next one. Again, get yourself situated before you start. And then again, as you guys can see, the biceps are really peaking on this one. One of my favorite ones to utilize, especially because again, I can get a little bit better shoulder mobility in this one, because of the typical one, I just don't have as much mobility with the way that the bench is set up. So that's the typical way to do it, guys. One arm at a time rather than both. So again, that's the way I would suggest for you guys to get into your movement before you just start tossing them up like I did the last one. But again, guys, a nice normal tempo, right into some negatives. Exactly. So again, guys, you can go normal tempo the whole time. You can add in those negatives like you just saw. There's no right or wrong. It's just to, again, change up the intensity and add some difficulty. So don't think either way is right or wrong, guys. Raise it up one. Adjust the ball cap once or twice. Yes, and then get right into your next set, guys. Again, this has been a killer workout because again, the entire time we have been supersetting. So there really is less to more breaks the entire time. Again, you don't need much weight here. This is an isolated curl, so as you can see, I was starting to struggle towards the end there, guys, but again, the biceps are nice and pumped. Chest is as well. This has been a killer workout. So again, guys, continue to test your envelope a little bit and add in these variations, add in these little tricks and these tools that I've added to your guys' arsenal, and continue to challenge yourself inside the gym. And then when you guys are done, if you guys don't have a pump like this, then you probably didn't do it right. I'm just fucking with y'all. All right, guys, I will see y'all at the next one.